This program is brought to you by ADP, one of the world's leading providers of human capital management services.
Federal contracting is basically contractors like myself provide support to the government in different areas. It could be training, it could be information technology, it could be a host of things, whether it's military or any of the other federal agencies. Each agency has a mission. They're mission focused, and we provide the back end support to them. What most people erroneously believe is that you put up a website, you have status in some socioeconomic category, and the contracts just start flowing to you. That's not the case. It is a 80-hour-a-week marketing campaign for your business, and it never ends. Well, the way you find contracts is, number one, you have to understand the agency. Each federal agency has small business offices that are the sort of the gateway for small companies, new entrepreneurs, to come in and understand what, in my case, what the Army buys. So you need to really understand what the agencies purchase and then sort of market your services towards those things that they purchase. So the agency puts out on websites, FedBizOps, the agency-specific websites. You can log in, add your email to it, and whenever any opportunities are coming out, you'll get an email. Today, in federal contracting, there is a 3% requirement for procuring to service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. To be a service-disabled veteran company, you have to have a service-connected disability. You had to have been injured when you were on active duty or guard or reserves. You have to have a certificate from the Department of Veterans Affairs stating that you've gone through the process, you do have a service, your disability is connected to your military service. And then from that point, your business, you have to be the controlling interest of the business. Well, to be certified just as a veteran status, you have to have your DD-214, which is your military discharge papers. And many times you'll be asked to provide a copy of your DD-214 in a proposal. One thing that you have to demonstrate to the government that you have the past performance. You can show that you've done this work in the past of similar scope and scale, and that's really kind of key. You can't just start in a government contracting business, go out and prime a bunch of federal contracts. Generally the best way to do it is to subcontract. Get the experience, build your portfolio, and then use that experience to go out and win contracts as the prime. The way I found primes to subcontract to is, number one, be invisible. Your phone doesn't ring. Companies aren't contacting you. You have to be out there. One of the things I did for the first few years is I just went to every government outreach event that I could go to, and I just went out and marketed. What I would do is I would go in and understand who the audience was that I was speaking to. I would be focusing on what we do as a company in an area that person's focused in, whether it be defense or civil agencies or federal law enforcement. At the end of the day, it all comes down to people buy from people, and you have to build trust with people.
I travel a lot, and what I mean by travel is between Fort Bragg and Camp McCall, where we have most of our training, I try to at least once a day get out and go around and see those other commands and see the other customers that we have that work underneath our contract, so that they see a face to a name. That's why we have those people embedded. They got an Oak Grove person they can go to in a moment if they have any kind of contractual question or if they want to move something around.
The government lays out exactly what they're looking for. So the first thing is, as we do, we call a straw man. So we look at the proposal, we break it down into the functional areas that the government's asking for. You're really kind of talking about and trying to convince the client that your solution or your approach or your methodology is the best methodology. Be specific in your approach to answering the government's requirements, because they're going to have a source selection committee of experts like yourself that's going to say, this isn't the right approach and you're out of the competition, or this is the right approach move on to the next phases. And part of that is compliance. Are you compliant with the contract? Is your response compliant? And it could be as little as, are you using the font that they require? Are you using the margins that the government laid out that most people will just overlook? And you could have the greatest proposal with the best price, but you're not even going to make it to that point because they're looking to reduce the number of bids that they have. In today's market, it's all about price. So can you price it such that you're competitive? Most of the pricing is really your labor. So you're looking at, how much does it cost to employ a certain skill set to achieve the contract. There is a strategy that a lot of companies use: bid low and come in and ask the government for more money. In 11 years at Oak Grove, we've never done that. I would rather lose up front and ask if we could get a debrief so we fully understand what we did wrong. You have to, formally submit your request for a debrief, and then the government's required to provide that meeting with you. And a good case for that is we bid a proposal probably about 6 years ago with the Department of State, and I asked for a debrief and walk into a room solo with 12 people from the Department of State. They thought it was going to be more of a tense discussion, and my only objective was to find out what I did wrong so that when it comes back out in 3 years, I can bid it again. Your attitude when you go into these, not being confrontational, just understanding, for your betterment and your company, I think that goes a long way. And in our case, it did. 3 years later, some of the same people that were on that panel when I came in called me and said, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but you lost this contract. We're putting it back out for bid. Would like to see you bid. We did, and we won. We've been in business now. This year will be our 11th year. We have a very good reputation in the industry. I'd like to take the credit for that, but the truth is that it's the people that are employed here.
Oak Grove is very decentralized. We are out doing our work with very little supervision.
Every Friday, I do what's called a sit rep. Each one of my site managers send in what they did that week, the high, and what's going on the next week. In other words, what they did this week that's important, not only for hiring, like, okay, we hired 82 contractors this week to support this exercise, but what they're going to do the following week.
We constantly do things that are not within the contract. We're doing exercises, giving extra stuff, always trying to make it work for them. I know if the Army needs something and I have to ask, they're always about giving them whatever it is that they need to make stuff happen.
If you've provided the government with exactly what they want and the government is happy with you, the likelihood of you being unseated in that contract is very low. So if the government's happy with you, they're going to find a way to stay with you.
For more information about how ADP gives back to our communities, please visit adp.com.